Less than 1% of the U.S. population currently wears the cloth of our nation. America has a long history of patriotic citizens who have served and sacrificed to ensure the freedoms of its citizens. Each person has their own unique story. This is the story of Henry.
I come from Milwaukee. But actually, I was born in Canada.
You were born in Canada?
I was born in Canada when I was 4 years old when we came to Milwaukee. And my dad died.
Oh.
6 kids. She's a very strong mother, and she brought us up very strict. The Army was a pie compared to my mother. Very strict.
Yeah.
I worked for the newspaper, and pretty soon I was doing a little column called Theater Guide. Strand Theater had this one, the Wisconsin had that, Riverside had that, the Warner Theater had that. I put that in the paper every day. That's how I got started writing. And pretty soon, the United States decided I'd make a better soldier. It was April 22nd, 1941, and in December of 1941, the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor.
The Japanese have attacked Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, by air, President Roosevelt has just announced.
The details are not available. The White House is now giving out a statement.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked.
Pearl Harbor marked the United States' entrance into World War II. The United States was fighting a two-front war, one in the Pacific against Japan and the other in Europe against Nazi Germany. These were known as the Pacific and European theaters. Both theaters wanted to expand and spread their ways. In the European theater, Hitler was befriending countries and then taking them over. He had conquered almost all of Europe. Meanwhile, in the Pacific theater, Japan was conquering all of the islands in the Pacific. Henry fought in the Pacific theater. The Pacific theater was mostly jungle terrain.
And I was a machine gunner. And they used to tell us we have 30 seconds to live when the shooting starts. So I didn't think I was coming back. I became a leader on the front line because I wasn't afraid to go first.
Yeah.
If you go first in the Army, the troops will follow you wherever you go. But if you say you go first, no way is anybody. They won't. I didn't mind because I thought I was going to get killed anyhow. I was positive I wasn't going to make it through a war, and so I led. And I became a good leader on the front line, and it was inspiration to other fellows, inspiration to me. One day they built a platform up, they built a pole and put a platform on it. And after they got it all built, they said, Corporal also to go up the platform. I says, you're crazy. I fought against that. I did not want it. I think it's stupid. I says, whoever goes up there's going to get killed. They says, Corporal said, go up there. So you've got to follow orders. I gave away everything I had, all my ammunition, my gun. I gave everything away that I had. I climbed up there thinking I'm going to my death. I was up there about 10 minutes and I got shot in the leg. Immediately I got operated on, which was a big advantage because it saved my leg. Finally went back to Australia, and then they thought they had me to the point where I could go back to duty, and I couldn't walk, and my leg would swell up like a balloon. The duty. I wanted to go back to the front line and get some Japs for getting me. I feel like a damn slacker. And I meant it. I meant it. All the words I can do things. I can type. I can do this. I can talk. I can type. And that, we like your attitudes. So they sent me to Walter Reed Hospital, Washington, D.C., and I worked at Walter Reed Hospital. And one of the smartest moves I ever made in my life. I learned so much at Walter Reed Hospital. You can't imagine the things that I learned there. I was at Walter Reed Hospital, Washington, D.C., and they would come and they would do a show to around 750 people, give or take a little bit, and they would then leave and go to 40 wards. MC did the same show there and that ward that he didn't run. So I heard it 40 times. Could do his whole routine. It was just like it was him talking. I knew every word, every inflection, how he stumbled over things and thought he was all goofed up. He wasn't goofed up at all. The comedian didn't show up, and all of a sudden, I had to be the MC for that show. And over big and what have you. And then from then on, I wasn't scared to MC anymore. How'd you like to have a movie star crying on your shoulder? She was a young girl, a young singer, brand new on the scene in a play on Broadway. And she did her bit. And I took her to Ward 1. And she went down the line and saw 15 guys with arms and legs off. Some of them an arm and a leg, some of them with 2 legs and 1 arm. And she kept her composure in the room. But when she came out in the hall where I was waiting for her, she just made a beeline for me. There's a movie star. They put her head on my shoulder and cried like a baby. And here I'm going, there, Evelyn Keyes, that was her name. Evelyn Keyes was her name. But that was a very dramatic moment for me when she put her head on my shoulder and cried. And I'm consoling a movie star. Think of how I felt. She had to go through 40 wars and see all these guys. At the end of the day, that poor girl was just a basket case. She couldn't fathom that many people with their legs and arms off. But I had the highest grade point average of 2,000 students that graduated. I only had a 10th grade education in the Army, and so I went and finished it 2 years, and then I finished college. But out of those 2,000, I had the highest grade point average. We used to do shows in places like this. We used to do shows, and then I would be the MC and I would tell jokes, and I don't care what the joke was, I could adjust my jokes to here and there. There was a time when I had about 32,000 jokes in a file, this big, this high, 4 rows of that. My grandson has it now. The little kid was smart. When he was 9 years old, I was kind of babysitting him. One day he said to me, he says, "Grandpa, what are you going to do with all these jokes you got?" And I said, "I don't know, I haven't really given it." He says, "When you die, can I have them?" And I said, "You know, nobody has shown any interest in those jokes except you." And I said, "Well, sure, when I die, you can have those jokes." I turned out to be a leader. I was a leader on the front line. Everybody was afraid to go first. And I wasn't afraid to go first because I thought I was going to get killed anyhow.